So you want to level fast and easy, but have a few questions that need to be ironed out first. Well, this is an in-depth look at the leveling method I used in my previous video, where I leveled in just over 3 hours by using the 200% exploration XP buff that Earthen get. Here I will answer questions, comments, and concerns, along with explaining how best to utilize the leveling method in much greater detail. In the background will be unedited footage of me exploring zones so that you can see exactly what I do. The first misconception that I saw was about the Warband XP buff. For every level 80 you have on your account, you will get a 5% XP buff to your alts, up to 25%. However, this does not apply to Exploration XP. I looked at footage from the pre-patch and compared it to XP now, and everything was unchanged. So even though I had the maximum buff, since it doesn't apply, 3 hours is actually pretty achievable by everyone. This also applies to Dark Moon Fair buff and War Mode, neither of them work for Exploration XP. Make sure you turn on Chromie time. I got a lot of comments saying that their XP fell off a cliff at a certain point. That's because the zones only scale to level 71 while you're in Chromie time. You can stay in a single timeline the whole run if you'd like. In fact, I recommend staying in Legion Chromie time the whole time. It is, after all, the most convenient for the route I laid out. If you start getting way less XP from exploration, it is likely because you forgot to enter Chromie time. I also got a lot of questions about how to get places. The easiest way is using the portals in your faction capital. That would be here in the Mage Tower for Alliance, and here at the Gates of Orgrimmar for the Horde. Here's a little rundown for how to get everywhere I mentioned in my previous video. Some methods open up at later levels, however, if you follow my step-by-step guide, you shouldn't run into any issues with it. To get to Northrend, take the Crystal Song Forest portal in your faction capital. If you are Alliance and want to get to Vashj'ir, you can fly there from Stormwind by going across the ocean. You can also fly to the Twilight Highlands by just cutting across the continent. For Horde, Mount Hyjal is right by Orgrimmar, and there is a Caverns of Time / Tanaris portal that you can take to get to the bottom of Kalimdor to get to Uldum. Getting to Draenor is rather easy. You can skip the intro by taking the Stormshield Ashran portal for the Alliance, and for the Horde, you take the Warspear Ashran portal. To get to the Eastern Kingdoms as Horde, there is a portal to the Undercity at the Zeppelin staging area in Orgrimmar. To get to Kalimdor as the Alliance, you can either take the Caverns of Time portal in the tower, or the Darnassus portal at the docks. Getting to Legion can happen in one of two ways. You can skip the intro and it will send you right to Dalaran in Legion, or you can take the Azuna portal in your capital. Finally, getting to Outland is as simple as using the Shattrath portal in your faction capital. Now let's take a more detailed look at how I actually do it. You've been seeing some footage in the background, but here's a more in-depth explanation. I have gotten some notice that many people fall behind even using my guide. That is understandable, I've been doing this run for 2 months now, so I want to impart some of what I learned onto you. The key is in points of interest. Let's look at the map of Zuldrak. Take a look at this and tell me what areas you think would give XP for discovering. I'll give you a few seconds, but you can pause the video if you really want to try and figure it out before I mark everything. Think you have it? Well, here's everything that gives Exploration XP. There are 33 discoverable areas in Zuldrak that I know of. I won't claim to hit every single one. There could be some random one in Timbuktu or something. But these are at least most of them. At this level, each of them gives around 880 to 990 XP. That's just one zone. Which is why I employ the rule of cool. If it looks like a cool spot, it's likely its own location. You can also tell when you enter a new area by the name that pops up in the middle of your screen. It is possible to overshoot it. If that happens, just double back and do circles until you get XP. You can also watch the name above the minimap. If the area is important enough that the developers took time to put on the map, whether it be named or just a graphic like a lake or island, it's likely a unique exploration point. There are some exceptions as you can see, but that is the general rule. However, don't just use the map, utilize those peepers while you're flying around too. Considering the original guide has you go through around half the zones in the entire game, I can't make a map for every single one of them, but what I said here applies to every zone. Rule of cool: watch the name area and don't overshoot it. If you follow these, you are unlikely to get significantly behind my guide. Another concern that has arisen is this nerfed. This ties into the Chromie time thing, but people have been panicking because their XP drops off, but I just made a new character and started a run, everything was fine, and I was gaining the correct amount of XP, so rest assured. The biggest flaw with this method is gear. It is a bit of a trade-off between taking speed and simpleness over actually getting gear, but there are many ways to get a full set once you reach level 70. Heirloom gear is not bad. If you have a full set equipped, you'll have a bunch of 337 pieces, the rest you can fill out with the auction house gear. You can also just get a full set of auction house gear. Here I am picking out a full set, minus the trinkets which I supplemented with heirlooms. It costed me around 5,000 gold. Alternatively, I heard you can level to 71 using the zones that you didn't explore. It takes a few extra minutes, but it's actually pretty fast still. But after you hit level 71, Chromie kicks you out into the War Within. However, you will be able to buy the War Within crafted gear, which is about as cheap as the example set I just showed. However, you will be a lot higher in item level. So it's really time versus reward. There are also plenty of world quests that give gear that don't need combat. I counted 8 world quests between Dragonflight and the War Within that would give you gear without needing to kill a single mob, and a few that would also be doable with very little gear. These reset twice a week, so you can farm these. Speaking of Dragonflight, if you have any currency like Dream Surge or the pre-patch event from the War Within, you can still turn those into the relevant vendors. Not to mention any rep gear you've earned so far you can just buy off of the reputation vendors. Once you get enough gear to queue War Within dungeons, you're fine, you can gear through those. And finally, most importantly, I asked you guys what I should name this leveling method. Here are a few of my favorites. Let me know in the comments which of these is your favorite, and I'll pin the one that I eventually go with. I hope I answered most of your questions and concerns. If I did, make sure you give a like on the video, I would very much appreciate it. If you have more, I can always answer them in the comments to the best of my abilities. I still plan to turn this leveling method into a speedrun, so if you want to see that, stay tuned. I also plan to make the War Within content, so that should be fun. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good flight.